All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Jaysick, and I am here with
Naomi Grossman
from
American Horror Story.
No introduction was ever needed for this woman because she's a legend in her own rights. So we're here at Chiller Theater 2015, and I guess it's April, right? I hope it's April. It's getting close to summertime. How has this convention been for you? How have the people been, and what's been going on?
Amazing. It's always amazing.
Is this your first time working at Chiller Theater?
It's not. I've been here twice. Although this was the first time with my freaky friends, so it's been really fun, you know.
So you have your entourage of friends here with you.
We're each other's entourage, yeah.
So I have a few questions for you about American Horror Story. I know your character, Pepper, right, was portrayed basically from the old movie Freaks. Can you, I guess, talk a little bit about how you prepared for the role?
I watched Freaks over and over and over all summer long in preparation. I mean, that was really the only direction I got was, do Schlitzie. So I watched Schlitzie and, emulated his movements and gestures and voice and everything. I knew as long as I was doing Schlitzie, I was doing what the producers hired me to do.
Did you originally audition for that role, or were you just auditioned for a different role and they called you and said, we have this role for you?
No, I auditioned for that role. However, they didn't really let on what that role was. So they didn't, it's not like I was reading Pepper's lines. For all we know, that Pepper's lines weren't even written. Yeah. They just knew they wanted a pinhead. And so basically the breakdown was 4 to 5 feet tall, possibly malformed, childlike. So, obviously they just didn't want to let on what the role actually was.
Yeah.
But, obviously I needed to be petite, which I am, so I knew not to wear high heels to the audition. Mm-hmm. And, childlike, I can play that. And I can prepare. I can not wear a plunging neckline or bootylicious dress, But, malformed, I can't do. That's if they want someone malformed, they'll find someone malformed. But obviously, I got called for a reason. I went in, I did my bit, and they had me do a monologue of Jessica Lange's from season 1, and they also gave me a ball, and they asked me to get them to play with them. So we know now, in retrospect, what that was. Yeah. They were, that was playing with me, And then, of course, the monologue was obviously about my range. They wanted to see that I could go from that to the evolved Pepper we see later on in the season.
American Horror Story has started and didn't stop and is going strong, very, very strong. A lot of major shows based on horror now in the mainstream genres. Walking Dead, obviously. You guys, horror is coming back in a way that people didn't expect it to come back. Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of live action, horror and stuff like that. How do you feel that in this day and age that a scripted segment like yours is competing with, live action horror like Paranormal Activities and first person shooter, stuff like that? I think, what do you feel the difference is, and how do you feel like that American Horror Story is able to dominate over that kind of those kind of movies? Because
it's really well done. To me, they're apples and oranges. Some of those shows that look like they were shot on a cell phone, I'm not naming names, but I'm just saying, this AHS evidently is not. It's clearly shot on film, actually, which is very rare these days. We work really long hours, just tirelessly. It's got a, A-list cast. It's got, the best, filmmaking professionals involved.
How long does it take for you to go from, let's just say, this picture to, let's just say, this picture? How long does this take to do in hair and makeup?
Well, This, I'm proud to say, is the photo that probably looks most like me now.
Yeah.
And that's about a 6-hour day.
6 hours just in hair and makeup, 6 hours alone.
Correct.
And then more hours on set acting.
Of course, yeah, that's just to get me ready. The face, the everyday is about a 2.5 to 3 hour job. But then that day, that was for the freak orgy, which you almost barely saw actually. But they made a prosthetic chest. So basically, I had to stand in like topless in plaster, in order for them to make my, like a cast bust of me.
That must have taken forever. Right?
That took probably about 20 minutes to just stand there cold with a bunch of strange men naked. And then, of course, I stepped out of that. With that, they were able to then make a mold of my chest. And then they could like build this, prosthetic body on top of it. But I mean, that was a really involved job. Obviously, they needed somebody to, sew in every hair. And that was just the preparation. Then once they finally came time to, game day, they laid the chest on me. Obviously, it fit me like a glove. It was made for me. But they had to, glue everything and then, of course, paint it so that you couldn't see a single seam. And sure enough, you can't. I mean,
you can't. That looks like that's your real body, but it's not.
On this photo, zero.
How does it affect you being portraying the characters that you've been, where it's like, they envision you as this ugly, scary person, but in real life you're stunningly gorgeous. How does that play on your psyche, especially when acting? Like, how do you kind of balance? You know what I mean? That would weird me out. Like, how do you balance that out? Like,
You'd be surprised. I get a lot of mileage for being this, beautiful woman now, which I never got. I mean, not like I do now. You know what I mean? Now I can fly across the country and sit at a table, and I'll have like a line of people who want to tell me how pretty I am. That never happened before. So ironically, playing the ugliest character on television, I've managed to, get all this attention for being, beautiful, as you say. But no, I mean, it's great on my psyche, because I didn't set out to do this into this profession to be beautiful. Like, that's not what I was trying to do. In Hollywood, the way I see it, if you want to cast a beautiful woman, you just throw a rock and you'll find her. But, sorry.
That's okay.
And so the fact is, if they're looking for a beautiful woman, they'll cast Sofia Vergara. They'll cast Salma Hayek. They'll cast. Clearly, have a thing for Latinas. Whatever. The point is, they're not going to cast me for those roles, so I might as well, get cast in what I'm going to get cast in. And if that's extreme characters, which is what I kind of figured out was my niche, then so be it. And I'm all about that.
It certainly was the right decision.
So America saw you play Pepper, fell in love with you like this. I know I did. Would you ever play another role similar to that again?
I would love to. I mean, obviously I don't want to get pigeonholed as like just the pinhead person. Because let's face it, we haven't really seen a pinhead on television since the 1930s. Yeah. Actually, they didn't even have television then in the same way or at all. Anyway, I digress. The point is, I can't wait another 90 years to get cast. So, but yeah, I mean, I would love to play another big character like Pepper. I mean, that's what I do, actually. So, I mean, I think I've proven to the world that I'm capable of that. Yeah. So I would think that would be a natural progression for my career.
All right, everybody, I'm Jaysick, and I have
Naomi Grossman.
And thank you very much for tuning in.